If you have a hard time speaking your truth, this video is for you. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. If this is your first time here, my name is Ross and I'm an intuitive counselor. Today's video is about speaking your truth. And this is something that has been coming up a lot with the different clients I've been working with recently and just in conversation. And it's certainly a topic that comes up over and over and over again. And it's been a topic that for me years ago was a real challenge of this idea of finding my voice or using my voice. Because for me, my voice was often not heard, not listened to, not taken into account. And when that happens, we tend to just suppress our voice. And maybe I'll just say a little bit about how that can show up. So we usually have an interesting way of solving problems. And when we are confronted with something like not having a voice, we go to two extremes. We go to the one extreme of, well, if my voice isn't heard, I'm just going to keep it to myself and not use it, which is sort of a suppression of our voice. Or we will go to the other extreme and sort of become more hyper or more active, and that is to share our voice excessively. And so it's kind of, we go to these extremes, one or the other. And ultimately, we want to be able to find balance, which is to know when to use our voice and know when not to use our voice. And that is the journey to try and find that balance. And the way that we do that is through practice. And I'm going to give you some ideas of how you can use your voice and practice using your voice a little bit later in the video. But first, I really want to talk a little bit more about, how we get to this place. And again, it's like if we go back to our family systems and what it was like growing up, you may have had siblings that didn't appreciate or honor your voice. You may have had parents that didn't listen to you or were distracted. There's all sorts of ways that this piece around not having a voice can show up. But ultimately, what it usually comes down to is this idea of some sort of loss of connection. In other words, if I speak my truth, if I share what is on my mind, the cost is going to be losing connection. And for those of us who struggle with abandonment or rejection, this is massive because we are hardwired, our nervous system is hardwired to stay in connection. We need community to thrive and survive. We need to have people around us in order to be healthy. And if we have a fear around losing people or pushing them away or having them walk away from us, one of the areas this is going to show up is with our voice. We won't speak our truth because we don't want to cause a situation that creates that rejection or abandonment. And most importantly, we've probably experienced situations that has been the case. And I can't help but think about the time we're living in right now. I mean, we are experiencing this thing called ghosting, where people just don't respond. And I did a video recently about uncertainty, and that is a classic situation of having to sit in the uncertainty of not knowing. Our brains are meaning-making machines. And so we are always trying to figure out why something happened and make meaning of it. And so I'm sure that if you were drawn to this video, you have a reason for being here and you have some sort of peace around not having a voice. And so let's get into the ways that you can start to reclaim your voice, or the ways that you can practice with your voice. And there's a number of things you can do. And the first thing I want to talk about is awareness. Now, the reason that awareness is important is because you're going to learn about yourself as you try and use your voice. And every time that you have that experience, you are going to get some sort of awareness from it. And that is going to inform what it is you do next, or what it is you might try next. So I'm just going to give a few suggestions of things that you can do or things that you can try to start to reclaim your voice. And one of them is to start small. And starting small is important. We just want to kind of chip away at this, and we want to create situations that are, the stakes are low. So it might be with friends, it might be with the cashier at a store you've only been to once. It could be with family, and it could be in casual conversation. So look for ways in those conversations and in those interactions that you can use your voice in a way that you don't usually. Another way that you can use your voice and start to practice is through writing. You can journal, and you can use your journaling to really be bold with your voice and say the things on paper that you might not usually say to someone. So if you have a situation in your life that is causing you stress, you could practice by writing it out first. The other thing is simply practice saying no. And this idea of saying no is really important because that's one of the things that often comes up is an inability to say no because we might lose that connection. So it could be going to a restaurant and somebody asks you for something, you say no, thank you, and just be really clear about it. Um, Again, like look for those small situations where you can practice. If you have a regular coffee shop that you go to, you could go to a different coffee shop and practice asking for what you want and ask for something different or ask for an add-on. Anything that allows you to practice using your voice in a low stakes way. The other thing you can do is utilize friends by creating a support buddy. So if you have a friend that also struggles with their voice, you can practice together. You can practice for each other. You can create an accountability between the two of you of practicing and leveraging the experience to shift your experience. And then lastly, one sort of a more passive way of supporting your voice and supporting the throat chakra itself would be to go to your local crystal store and ask for crystals that help to support the throat chakra. I'm not an expert in crystals, so I'm not going to name any, but just consider that because you can keep it in your pocket. I have a medicine pouch that I often wear that I can put different pieces in there. So you could create a medicine pouch that has these crystals in it and helps to move energy through your throat chakra. So those are just a few things that you could do. The key is practice. When I think of one experience that's coming to mind right now, when I was in would have been grade 8, I believe, I was so scared to do an oral report, partially because I was at a new school, but it just, I didn't feel aligned with the topic. And I think it was an English class. And I actually took almost a week off of school in the hopes of avoiding this oral report. And then when I returned from that time off, the teacher made me get up in front of the class, even though I told him that I was not prepared and that I had nothing to say. And that experience was excruciating. And what came after that was a number of years of me being terrified of speaking in public. And it wasn't, I can't do the math that quick, but it wasn't until like way into my adulthood that I started to find my voice and I started teaching and I started to share my voice in groups. So it took a long time and a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress in terms of my voice. And eventually it started to shift. And now it's like I'm happy to step into difficult conversations. It's like a complete 360, and I've definitely reclaimed my voice. And I think another thing I just want to say as an add-on is when I've been facilitating or helping mediate conflict, it's amazing how quickly things shift when we speak our truth. Because usually what I see is that the other person is moved by the honesty and moved by the information. And so it's like what we've been holding back is also holding back the progress of our relationship or where it could go. So things get stuck and stagnant. Whereas when that information gets revealed, it actually moves things forward. So like many of the topics I share, this is definitely a larger topic, but I just kind of wanted to step into it, and perhaps I do some follow-up videos around this piece. But I think I'll leave it there for now. So if you enjoyed this video, consider liking it. If you know somebody that could benefit from this video, please consider sharing it. If you are interested in the work I do, my website is in the description. And I am also interested in hearing your topics. What are topics that you would like to hear about so that I can respond to them? And that would be really great. If you have a topic you'd like to hear, just put it in the comments. And thanks very much for watching and sending you unconditional love. Bye for now.